put my
Hello, Pete.
Jackie, how are you?
Very well, thank you. So this is Pete Wellings. I've only met Pete once, and that was at the One Mind Can when I did a talk on Ho'oponopono. And then Pete come up after me and did only a short talk about, it was just so interesting, about cricketers. Well, you can tell the story because it's not a long story, but it's a really lovely, heartwarming story. Not at the start, but then it gets very much better. And then we're going to talk a bit about crypto, which is Pete's love or knowledge of. So yeah, thank you, Pete. You agreed to come on and do this talk, because honestly, just listening to that short talk that you did, it was really, we wanted to get you on here to do a talk.
Jackie, it's a real privilege to be asked to do this. I know you've reached out to me a few times, and probably like a lot of people at the moment, I'm wearing many different hats in terms of income, but also activity. I feel called to do what we're doing, and I know there's lots of other people who they feel called to build a better future for our children and the generations to come, and that takes up a lot of my time, and I wouldn't be the only one. So I really appreciate the fact that you held on, and then Ellie reached out, and that was brilliant. So I'm glad we're doing this.
Oh, I will just say then, yeah, obviously where I just said about the talk that I gave at One Mind Can, that is a community group that's really growing amazingly well in Petersfield area. But we've got our own here in Lyndhurst. Absolutely brilliant. So all these communities all over the country, but you really do seem to be flying there. So yes, thank you, Pete.
Well, one important thing on that, actually, I know we may discuss it later, is that decentralized community. So they're autonomous, they run their own ship, everything they do is within their own parameters, their own autonomy. And yet we also want a culture or an ethos, which is a stronger word than culture, where we're supporting each other. We're always there for each other if we need it. If somebody's got expertise in one area, then that expertise can be shared with other communities to help them scale what's worked before. I think that's really, really important, because several years into life being different, let's say that, we want to make sure that we're all aligned in our action, that we're all, you don't have to agree on everything. That's really important. We don't want an echo chamber of conscious communities, but what you do want is to be outcome focused. What's the outcome we're looking for here? And in doing so, if you're outcome focused, you might say, well, yeah, I'm a vegan, and then the other guy's, well, actually I'm a primal meat eater. But you know what, we want the same outcome for the generations to come, and I think that's critical. Not just in the UK, but around the world. You see videos where people are calling for unity in a time where there's always the distractions of division, and we're seeing that at the moment in the Middle East, and throughout the last few years, you've seen constant polarity and constant calls to be divided. And in fact, it should be the other way around. We should be united in our outcome focus of how we want to hand over the running of the planet, and how we want to hand over the life for our future generations, and that's something that is quite dear to my heart.
Definitely, yeah, absolutely. So I love what you've got to share, and the work that you do. I mean, you travel so much as well. So yeah, you're doing a wonderful job.
Yeah, I'm called to do it, but I've been blessed as well. You know, like I was a professional cricketer. I was a state school boy from Wolverhampton, and loved all sport. Wolves is a big, Wolverhampton's a big football town, so Wolves are my team. And yet my favourite contact sport was rugby, and I played rugby. And then in my mid-20s, I actually got into professional cricket, you know, through playing for Ealing Cricket Club in West London. And then from there, I had several excellent years with Middlesex, really enjoyed it, but I always wanted to go into coaching. And starting small, large oaks from little acorns grow. My coaching business grew, and it took me around the world. So I've been blessed to travel so many different countries, coaching cricket and other sports, and team building, athletic literacy, promoting a love of being active and outdoors to youngsters and adults. And don't we need to do that at the moment? So yeah, I probably, you like the story about Uganda. Would you like me to talk about that?
I would really, yeah, if you're happy to.
Oh, of course. So I think I've done a lot of work in South Africa. From 1993, that was my first time out there, and I was one of the first, if not the first, non-white coach to live in a white coach live in a non-white village, and that was in the Boerland province. And I worked with our community there, and they love rugby and they love cricket. All right, so we had a great time. So I was going back there on a regular basis, and still in touch with those guys now. And they've produced an enormous amount of players who've gone on to play provincial cricket and also for South Africa. That's Coronation Cricket Club in the Boerland between Stellenbosch and Paarl. So I did a lot of work there. And then from there, I got an invite to go to Uganda. This is about 15 years ago. So I was in touch with one guy, Fred. I was put in touch with him, and I said, "Oh, I'm in South Africa at the moment. I'll pop up to Uganda." So I flew to Joburg, and then from Joburg I flew to Kampala, and I was greeted there at the airport. And that was my first taste of real, proper Africa. And yeah, I spent about 8-9 days there. Absolutely loved it. Was blown away by the warmth of the people, and just reaffirmed my love of community, being active, being outdoors, and purpose driven. So I went back again the next year, and subsequently I've been 4 times. And I've taken English cricket coaches over there. We've raised quite a lot of money. We've gone into schools, and we've gone into orphanages. We've gone to community tribal areas, and I've raised money, fortunately, and this is the real blessing, to pay Ugandan cricketers to go into schools and coach. Right. So how simple is that? And then every time they would come along and help, I'd be able to pay them. And that, that sort of planted a seed, I think, for Fred and his brother Charlie. And Charlie Waswer, Fred Waswer and Charlie Waswer. Charlie's had a great career with Ugandan cricket, but he's also a huge community builder. So we've stayed in touch 15 years, and we're in touch 2 days ago, planning our next tour. So what we're aiming to do is go over there, and this will be some of the One Mind Can guys flying to Kampala, and then spend, let's say, 10 days to 2 to 3 weeks in Uganda, and just helping build community. This is really important for Westerners to recognize, is when they go to Africa, and I've obviously done the same in India, spent a lot of time there, we learn as much as they learn. So we may have our technological advances, we may know certain things in a more science and secular way, but in terms of community, in terms of making use of the resources you have available, in terms of a purpose-driven life, they are miles ahead. I've always believed, and particularly in the last few years, Eastern medicine can teach the West stuff. They're thousands of years ahead, whether it be intermittent fasting, grounding, sunlight exposure, cold water treatment, you name it. All that stuff that I really believe in. And in Uganda, you'll get community, you will get people thinking on their feet and really teaching people who go there. I think it'd be great for Western kids to go to Africa, to go to India, to go to other countries where there is genuine poverty, and then experience it. Because although you probably heard it before, there's maybe material poverty there, spiritually they're way ahead, in my view, in terms of a community and love, and sort of a knowledge that there is a higher purpose to being on the planet than just getting a bigger flat screen TV. So when we go over there, we will, with Charlie and the organizing team, Isaac, who's a journalist, he's big into community, Fred and a number of others, we'll do cricket sessions. Yep. We'll do football. We'll do volleyball, sporting sessions. We'll do athleticism sessions. We will do entrepreneurial sessions, we'll do business building sessions, we'll do blockchain and crypto. So this is a nice segue, really, or from the end of discussing about this, is blockchain and crypto for Africa can be the game changer. Because if at the moment I have some funds available, and let's say Charlie says, Pete, I need some money, can you send some through? We've got to go through Western Union, you need a bank account, you need this, you need that, etc., etc. Can take days. You've got to convert pounds to dollars to Ugandan shillings, all right? And it's a long-winded process that requires permission and will involve commission. Whereas in blockchain, if Charlie's got a XRP wallet, or he's got a Bitcoin wallet, or anything like that, you can send peer to peer, and it can be there in a matter of seconds for micro pennies. This is the real beauty of what blockchain offers. So Charlie and those guys recognize how valuable that will be for them. And we'll also look at holistic wellness as well, practices over there. And they're already doing a lot of them, and we will learn as much as them. And when I've been over there, I've learned so many different things. But one thing I've really come to recognize is that if we apply genuine holistic wellness practices in our daily life, you don't need to go to the pharmaceutical industry for your health. You are autonomously sovereign in your own health. You're doing your cold showers, you're eating nutritious, nutrient-rich food, you're making sure that you don't look at your phone as soon as you get up, that you have sunlight before screen light. You are making sure that you do daily reading, that you do strength training, and that's very important as we get older, to make sure that our sedentary lifestyle is compensated by pushing and pulling either our body weight or something a little bit heavier if you want to go in the gym. Intermittent fasting and all the benefits. And I've learned this from working with my Muslim cricketers and then speaking to parents and just watching the discipline that they exhibit during Ramadan, 30 days of fasting, and then seeing how they do it, and then hearing, this is hundreds of years old, these customs are thousands of years old coming from the East, and thinking they're really onto something. And then the promotion of autophagy and the cellular regeneration that comes from intermittent fasting. These are all things that anybody can learn about how to build your own wellness and health and well-being, again, without having to rush and go along to the pharmaceutical industry, which obviously only sells us products when we are perhaps not very well. And there's a much better, more enlightened way to go about that. So that's really what we're going to do. And those guys are really excited to have us there. I can't wait to go back there. And it will just be brilliant. Charlie, God bless him, he's probably come to the end of his career with Ugandan cricket, but he's hugely into community. So he's already built a cricket ground. They've built volleyball areas. That's big over there. They've got football pitches. Football is probably the national sport of Uganda. It's the one that's most readily played. They've got rugby as well. So there's some Ugandan rugby guys, tennis, swimming, anything to do with getting kids active and getting adults active as well, building that will be, it'll just be an absolute blessing. And a smaller, less recognized country can have a global reach in sport. A good example will be Jamaica. How many people live in Jamaica? Is it 1 million people? And yet they're top of the world in sprinting. We look at New Zealand in rugby union, the All Blacks. I'm an England fan, but the All Blacks are the most successful sporting team in any sport ever. Most successful professional sporting team. There's only 3.5 million people live in New Zealand. So there's no reason at all that we can't utilize sport in Uganda to drive forward some change and to put some of these kids who are going into sport on the map. And maybe put Uganda on the map. So it's going to be an exciting tour. I'm really looking forward to it. And just to spend some time here, we're going to have some fun as well. Go out in the evening, have some food, have a beer, get to share stories and build community. We in the West really need to focus on community. And the good thing is, as you've already alluded to, Jackie, is in the last 3.5, 4 years in the West, there's probably been a coming together of a certain section of society who want to live a more conscious, community-oriented life. And we are spending more time together, like a tribe, like a community of people who have a like heart and a like mind and who want each other to do well. And I've noticed that, and I think it's absolutely welcome. If we could do anything better in the West, it is get back to community, human, physical connection, and not live our life where we go to a screen or a video screen to order things, or we go into a shop that's got a CCTV camera on us, pay with a cashless card, we pay with a card that hasn't got any physical cash, and we don't have any interaction with a human being. To think that that is progress, to me, is insanity. What progress is increasing our connection with each other on a one-to-one and a community group basis, making sure that people spend time with each other and learn human connection and the nuances of what it takes to read body language, to read tonality of voice, and to get to know the character of the people we're dealing with and interacting with. That's probably the biggest thing that we could do, and it's not difficult to do.
Honestly, you can see why I wanted Pete to speak. Honestly, that's what we need to be looking at, the community. But what you talk about and how exciting that sounds to go out there and, you know, for our children to see that. And when you see the pictures of all of them coming round, so happy to see everyone when they arrive. But I did love that story that you told of the two brothers that didn't have any interest in cricket, but then they went because of the food.
That's true. So Charlie and Freddie, right? I come in touch with them. They sent me a WhatsApp message yesterday or the day before, both of them. Well, Charlie lives in Uganda. Freddie's gone to Australia, all right? But his heart's still in Uganda. And, we'll get them both over to the UK. So basically, there was a cricket ground near where they were brought up. I think Charlie and Freddie, I think they were born in Jinja. And Jinja, Jinja, is about 50 miles from Kampala. Kampala is the national capital and by far the largest city or town in Uganda. There was a cricket ground nearby, and they didn't really have any interest in cricket, but there was food available if they went along and watched the game. So they started going along, got some food, all right, and then from there got hold of a bat, started hitting a few tennis balls when they were kids, and that got them into cricket. And now you've got Charlie and Freddie and their friendship group have got connections with people worldwide. We took a tour out there from my old cricket club, Ealing. We took it in, what was that, 2011? Yeah, I think it was then 12 years ago. And we took about 16 guys out there, 3/4 of a ton of sports kit. Cricket, rugby, football, assorted, this, that, and the others, cones, bibs, you name it. And we had about 10, 11 days there and had a wonderful, wonderful time. And those relationships are still there. So that shows you what sport can do for you. In a country that's not a cricketing country, you wouldn't say Uganda is a big cricket country. They do play in tier 3, I think it is. So they'll play against maybe Papua New Guinea. They'll play against Singapore, potentially the USA, although I think the USA have moved up another tier in the ICC global system or stratification of teams. But imagine that you get a group of guys come over from Britain, bring a load of sports kit, and you're still in touch with them now. And long may that continue. So that's a really nice story. And we're going to try and do the same with volleyball, basketball, tennis. It doesn't matter. And I would also say to any grandparents or parents who are looking to get their children into sport, the key thing is what the child wants. That's very important. So encourage them to get into sport 100%. But don't decide the sport for them. My own son, Maxwell, is a professional footballer. He's with Bournemouth and he's thriving there. He's 18 years old. He's doing really, really well. He's a good kid. He's captaining the reserves on a regular basis. And God willing, sooner or later, he'll get his first team debut, his Premier League debut. He's been on the bench once already. So against Brighton earlier this year in February. But if you are a tennis player, Yeah, you might love your kid to go into tennis, but if their calling is basketball or swimming, let them walk their own path. That's what I would say to them. Let them choose the sport of their choice. Give them a multitude of sports to try: racket sports, contact sports, individual sports, team sports, you name it. And then let them see the ones that they most enjoy. And as a young kid, what we should be doing is encouraging our young kids, particularly in the West, where they need to be more active, to play as many sports as possible when they're young. And then as they get older, only then should they specialize. That's a proven, scientifically proven way for kids to naturally excel in sport. But just getting them active, get them out. When you take your dog for a walk, take the kids. Go walking as a family. I'm a big believer in trying to walk as almost every day. And if you can get an incline in there as well, where you're walking up a hill, what a difference that makes to your cardiovascular system. Get a little bit out of breath. That's exactly what is meant to happen to us as human beings. We're meant to get our engine running on a daily basis. So getting kids active and making sure we stay active as adults and doing what by the way, Jackie, do you know which country in the world, or which area in the world, has the longest lifespan, the greatest amount of people who live to 100?
Oh, that's the blue zones. There's about 5
Correct.
blue zones.
Yeah. So it may have
I don't know
changed.
which one. There's Japan.
Yes, that's right. And which part of Japan? Do you know?
Oh, no. I have heard
What?
it, but I can't
I thought you were
remember.
going to say it. Do you know what? It's Okinawa.
Yes.
Okinawa.
I had heard of it. I didn't remember. Yeah.
So there's a lot. I think there's a part of Italy where they're
Yes.
doing that, possibly Sicily, Costa Rica, okay, and there's some other countries. So there is scientific reasons, and some of them are quite counter narrative. So, for instance, the Italian group who've got this area where there's huge life expectancy, they all drink wine. Some of them smoke, but you know what? They walk up hills all the time. They've got a great diet, full of olive oil and other good fats. And there's lots of hill walking, and there's a massive amount of community. In Okinawa, from what I can see, nobody retires. That's a very interesting concept. So they don't get to the age of 65 and say, right, I've done my bit now, I'll just sit in a chair and watch TV. Everybody has a purpose in life right to the end of their life. There's huge amounts of community activity, and there's a lot of hill walking up and down the hills in Okinawa. And I believe on the side of some of the hills, there is a very beneficial mushroom that they take. I don't know the name of it. There are probably some other reasons as well. But it's interesting to look at these areas and see people are living longer, healthier lives. Why is that? What is it they're doing? I would suggest that human connection is a massive part of it.
I would. And yes.
Yeah. As we get older, you become more and more aware of that, don't you? That this isolated life that we lead in the West, and we can do better. And I think a lot of people want to do better. So hopefully the last few years is a catalyst to make people recognize how important community is.
I do honestly think that. And then with our Forest Freedom community, we've got like a whole project of what, and one of the big things there is obviously for children, and how they can do the outdoor activity, all the outdoor activities. I mean, it's all in our minds, ready to go. Like, but Warren Bowden, he's done many men's groups, going out with the younger boys and the men and round the campfire, fishing. I mean, how good is that? Just even a men's group where they can talk to each other. Men can talk to children, young boys. I think that's really important as well. The same with women and girls. Yeah, you know what I mean by that. But anyway.
I agree completely. Getting outdoors and being active. I've been a professional coach for 32 years now, and I've learned so much. I have my own philosophy in terms of coaching, but ultimately, if you want to learn to climb a tree, don't look at it on YouTube. Go climb a tree. Experiential learning, getting people out there riding a bike. How do our young children learn to ride a bike? Well, they get on. You don't do it on concrete. You get them on a grass area or a soft landing area. You say, off you go, and they fail and they fall off, and then they learn to keep their head above the wheels, so they keep balance and they keep cycling forward. Whoa! I know how to cycle now. Congratulations. Who taught you that? Oh, you did, Dad. You did, Mum. No, I didn't. You taught yourself. You taught yourself.
Just
All
goosed at
learning
that.
is
That's
intrinsic,
perfect. Yes, you did.
isn't it?
They did.
All learning is intrinsic. We are the facilitators as coaches, as mentors, as parents. It is the child, or even now, adults. If we're teaching them a new skill, it's experiential. Let them walk the path. Yes, you might suggest some information, but let them walk the path. It's the same with the blockchain and crypto, which I know we're going to discuss, because I've given several talks thus far about how conscious communities need to recognize the importance of what blockchain, decentralized blockchain and crypto represents, and then also what may come through CBDCs, which is the complete antithesis of what decentralized blockchain represents.
I'm really, all the talks I've done and been to and everything, and have spoken to people, about gold and silver and crypto, but I've really got so little understanding of it. So yeah, you do think that's probably the future?
Okay, so now let's talk about decentralized crypto blockchain, all right, and how it works. Can I design a blockchain? Firstly, I want to be clear on this. There are guys who know way more than me about this, way more. What I think we need to do for the conscious communities is get to what I would call MVU, minimum viable understanding, where people can go, okay, I don't know the absolute ins and outs of it, but I know it works and I know how to utilize it in my own life. I think that all conscious communities should be thinking along that for decentralized blockchain. I also want to be clear. Do I believe in other alternative payment systems? Absolutely. Do you want to have a bit of precious metals, gold and silver? Absolutely. Do you want to have some land potentially? Absolutely. Do you want to have some fiat that's in a trust or something else? Do you want to have a bank account in several countries? Yes, I think you do. You want to have as many options for transacting as possible, including, and I know that there's a town in Hertfordshire that have their own payment currency, the hemp. So I was at a talk when the gentleman was talking about that. They got about 1,000 people in their group, and they transact in the hemp. And the most expensive thing bought was a car, and somebody took the hemp and gave them the car. So energy exchanges, bartering, all this stuff are ways to bring sovereign exchange of value and storing of wealth outside of the control of the banks. Okay, because when people really look at it, and I think more and more people are becoming aware of it, you're in a permission system when you're in the banking world, all right? And you've got an asset, if you want to call it an asset, in fiat currency that is backed by absolutely nothing, and that they are printing. In fact, it's numbers on the screen, but let's use the word printing. They're printing it ad infinitum all the time. So you've got an expanding currency base, not based on anything apart from the confidence in the economy that it's produced by, and it's not backed by anything. It's not. It's continually increasing, and it's a permission system. You have to get permission to get a bank account. You need permission to send it, and even withdrawing it from the banks. Now you're seeing more and more people saying, "I went in there to get some money out," and they said, "What's it for?" And I said, "Well, it's my money, none of your business." "Oh, I'm sorry, it is. You have to tell us what's it for." So you're in that permission control system. All right. So multiple ways of transacting, exchanging value, buying goods and services, I think is critical.
Yeah.
Personally, I would say the number one objective, or the number one pressing aspect of life for conscious communities is probably growing our own food and making sure we have a clean, healthy water supply. Okay, because with that, you can survive and then thrive. We certainly want high quality food, and we know there's stuff happening to our food and additives being put in there and ways of it being grown which are not beneficial to our health and well-being. I think we've got that covered pretty well in conscious communities. Now,
Yes.
I will say quite transparently, that is not my skill set, growing food, etc., etc. Do I want to get to MVU, minimum viable understanding of how to grow potatoes and carrots and stuff? 100% I do. I want to increase that. But at the moment in our community here, and I suspect down where you are, there are some really good food growers.
Oh, yes.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. So wouldn't it be great if we had decentralized food growers growing nutritious food that is not GMO, hasn't got pesticides, hasn't got additives, is not grown near any towers that have got certain EMFs coming from them? We grow it with nutritious, rich nutrients. It's full of all the minerals that we want. And we can then say, we'll pay for it in a number of different ways, whether it's bartering, energy exchange, or decentralized crypto and blockchain. So I gave a number of talks. Does your farmer take Bitcoin? Imagine asking our farmers whether they're conscious or they want a change to say, hey, would you grow this food for us? We don't want any of these additives. We don't want it sprayed with anything. We'll take the bugs. We'll take the all that stuff. No problem at all, so long as it's nutritious. And we'd like to pay you in Bitcoin. We'd like to pay you in decentralized crypto or gold and silver. You know, I think a lot of farmers would say, you bet, I'd love to do that. So what is the difference between crypto and blockchain and the banking world? The banking world is fiat currency, permission-based, and continually expanding currency base, and inflated currency base. That's what inflation is. Inflation is not the price of goods going up. It is an inflation of the currency supply. So people then go, oh, I'll pay £1.50 for this loaf of bread, and it's £1.60 the next month, because there's an inflation in the amount of currency and supply. Switch to the primary crypto asset, which is Bitcoin. You have a maximum ever supply of 21 million coins. There's about 19.2 million that have been mined so far. It is decentralized. It is not owned by any specific bank or organization or corporation. It is held by people worldwide, and it can be sent if you're in a decentralized wallet, not a centralized exchange. Those two things are different. If you've got a decentralized crypto and blockchain wallet, you can send it anywhere you want without any permission at all. And a blockchain is like a digital ledger. It is immutable. Once transactions are confirmed on a blockchain, think of a blockchain as an information pathway. You can send A through to B along the blockchain, and there are multiple blockchains. Can I build my own blockchain? Absolutely not, and I never will be able to. But do I know how to utilize it and maybe help others utilize it? Yes. We can send assets on decentralized blockchains, and you can have £100 of Bitcoin, £100 sterling of Bitcoin, and you can have it in a wallet in Uganda in 20 seconds, where someone says, hey, Pete, it's landed. It's in my Exodus wallet. It's in my Lobster wallet. Mate, thanks. Great. You've got £100 of Bitcoin there now. You can store that knowing it's highly likely to go up in value, because you've got an increasing currency supply coming into an asset which is fixed in terms of the number of coins that are going to be produced, 21 million. So Bitcoin has 21 million maximum coins coded into its mining protocol. There's never going to be any more. Meanwhile, you've got this inflating currency supply. And then you saw with what happened with the truckers last year. This is very important for people to recognize, because I know within conscious communities, there is a suspicion over crypto and blockchain. There's a suspicion over Bitcoin. There's a suspicion over XRP. There's a suspicion over this, that, and the other. Let's look at the proof of the pudding. Let's look at when it was most needed. Those people who decided to oppose the Prime Minister Trudeau of Canada, those people who decided to protest against certain interventions, certain protocols that were put in, saying you cannot live your life unless you take this medical intervention, you can't do this, you can't do that. A significant number of people said, no, we're not having this. And it was led by the truckers. So what did they do when they realized this was a major, major revolt against his authoritarianism? They cut off all their legacy finance supplies, bank accounts, PayPal, you name it, GoFundMe.
I know.
Yeah, all that stuff. Opposed to the government, oh, all right, we're going to close your bank account. Okay, so they did all that. And that left all the truckers, I think it started in February or March 2022. So it left them needing to heat their trucks, to pay for food, all the stuff that you need to stay in Ottawa. I think it was the capital. They were there. Okay, what did they do? Well, do you know what they did? They thought on their feet and they funded through crypto. They funded through blockchain. Now, some of the centralized exchanges, which a centralized exchange is like a crypto bank account, okay? And some of them were closed, but the decentralized wallets, because in crypto, your assets are held, your digital assets, your crypto assets are held on wallets. You have a wallet address unique to your particular wallet. You hold those assets there. They can't be touched, and they were able to fund people in crypto through Bitcoin, Ethereum, Monero, which is the world's leading privacy coin. If you don't know about Monero, do have a look at it. It is a decentralized coin, I think currently worth about $155, and it's almost virtually private. So you can send it to somebody, you don't need permission, and it's virtually anonymous when you send it. This is important that people have this, knowing what we've seen in the last 4 years. Is it potentially, do tyrannical governments have the possibility of shutting you down, shutting your income down, shutting your wealth down and your ability to live if you go against the narrative? Yes, they do. They've already done it. The antidote to that is to have an awareness of payment systems, of wealth storage systems, and information systems, because blockchain can be used for so much more, that they cannot control. That is why blockchain is so very, very important. I would really stress that, Jackie. I would say it's probably second only to growing our own food, and then also we would ally it to building our own health systems, our holistic health systems, and where needed, our critical care systems that are separated from the current systems. But blockchain
How did you
and
learn
crypto,
so much about it, Pete? How did you learn so much about it? How easy is it to learn? Because
it's a great question. I've often thought this. How did it happen? Do you know, ironically, where it came from? It came from me getting interested in gold and silver about 5 or 6 years ago.
oh,
So again, it's not either or, it's both. This is another important thing. Guys who love crypto will often love gold and silver as well. In fact, they will want cryptos to be backed by, asset backed by gold and silver. And I know that there is discussion about that. There is even, for instance, a blockchain asset, a crypto asset called Pax Gold, which is one Pax Gold is 1 London troy ounce of gold on the blockchain. So if you own it on the blockchain, you own the physically stored asset that's held in a London vault. And of course, you could set up a wallet now, Jackie. 5 minutes later, I'll say, Jackie, this is my gift to you, and I send you Pax Gold, and it lands in your wallet in 1 minute or half a minute. Isn't that great? How did I become interested in it? Through the gold and silver. But from there, I started to look at what it represented and the power that it offers to people. And because I've lived a relatively counter-narrative life, I thought this looks promising. And I made some errors. I didn't understand certain things, but bit by bit, I got into really loving what blockchain and crypto offers, amongst other things. You know, I think it's important to have MVU, minimum viable understanding, in lots of different things at the moment, and not to be reliant on the system. So once you have an understanding of some part of crypto and blockchain, it will definitely decrease your reliance on the system, in my view.
What's the best way to find out, really, to start understanding it then?
Yeah, so go to some talks. I will be going around the country. I know there's other guys as well. So one of my very good friends, Lee, ex-RAF, very much on side. We're really close. We have done some talks, but as things go by, more and more conscious community people will be going around doing talks. And then there's also videos that you will find online explaining the basics of Bitcoin, the basics of what blockchain is, etc., etc. So I would urge everybody watching who is of a like heart, who is looking to build sovereignty and resilience and to decrease their reliance on the current system, to take a look at crypto and blockchain, go and do a bit of research on any of the social media channels, and just start with the fundamentals. Again, back to my coaching world, if I were coaching any sport or throwing or catching or moving, focus on fundamentals first. Don't dive too far in. And in my view, I have to say this as well, avoid any projects which offer incredibly high rates of return, that have an MLM structure. I'm not totally against network marketing at all for high quality products with a really strong ethos in the corporate team that are running the company. And I know there's a couple that I use myself. I'm on Clearphone now. I use my Clearphone. I love it. I use a few other products as well that are network marketed, and they're excellent people, excellent products, but it doesn't work in crypto, in my opinion. So everybody watching now, if you do get an offer to get involved in a project, it might seem great, but I think they muddy the waters. And in my experience, they always run out of liquidity. So separate those from what the true essence of blockchain and crypto is, which is a decentralized payment and information sharing system, right? And it works. It works. Everybody can get a little bit of Bitcoin. Everybody can get a little bit of XRP. And it's possible, by the way, that we might just be entering another bull run. The all-time high for Bitcoin is $69,200, I think. It's currently at $34,000. It really shot up in the last few days. Will Bitcoin get to $100,000? I talk about crypto in dollars all the time. That's basically because the global currency, cryptocurrency is recognized in dollars. Not that I think we have to be totally reliant on the dollar, but I think Bitcoin will get to six figures. It will go to $100,000 and more, which is going to be great if you plant some seeds now. But it may not be Bitcoin. You may go into the altcoins, the alternative coins to Bitcoin. You may look at Monero or some of the privacy coins because you want to hold assets on blockchain and you want to be able to store them and send them privately. You may go for Pax Gold or some of the other gold assets and say, I want to own it on blockchain. I'm going away somewhere for 6 months, but I don't want to take my gold with me. So if I own it on the blockchain, I take my wallet with me on my laptop or the keys to my wallet. I can actually reinstall my wallet on another device, and there on the blockchain is the assets that I've bought. So there are so many reasons that people should look at it. And wouldn't it be great if we as a community, just even if we did it 1%, instead of using fiat systems or card payment systems, if we started, you went for a Reiki session and you paid somebody in Bitcoin, or your gardener comes around and he's conscious and aware of what's going on and he grows some great food for you and you pay them in XRP or you pay them in Monero. Wouldn't it be great if people started doing that, trading these currencies with each other and utilizing blockchain for the true purpose of what it was intended for? Bitcoin first came around in 2009. So it's been around 14 years. More and more people are recognizing the value of it. RFK Jr. is a big believer in Bitcoin. He recognizes how important it is in terms of having the ability to transact outside of government and state control. But even before 2009, there were attempts to create blockchain cryptographic currencies. And there were some successes, some not. But in 2009, Bitcoin and BSV, BTC, BSV, BCH, Bitcoin Cash, there's lots of different ones. It can be confusing. Start simple, focus on the fundamentals, and bit by bit, you will learn. Just like if you jump in a swimming pool for the first time, you're not going to swim a length. We're not going to throw you in the deep end. Start in the shallow end, and if you've got your armbands on, so be it, to learn the basics of getting across to the other width, from one side to the other. It's the same in crypto. Most people dive in a little bit too deep. Start very, very simple. And if you need to go to a talk, or you need somebody to sit down with you and set up a wallet who knows what they're doing, then so be it. I do think it's important. I really do. And then let's say if I do that for somebody and they're a brilliant food grower, I'll spend an hour with them setting up a wallet and explaining the basics. And then I spend an hour with them and they show me how to grow nutritious potatoes or carrots. This is what we can do. We can build these kind of reliance in systems, like back to Uganda and Africa. And if you go to Eastern Europe, here's an interesting one. Jilly, my wife, and I, we went to Croatia. We love Croatia. We went there 3 years ago, went back there in June for a conference. We went walking the hills, as we were staying at a lovely resort, but I always like to get out and about. So we went walking up the hills. It was a beautiful sunny day. And you know what it's like when you go to those countries, the sort of Adriatic or Mediterranean countries. It's more relaxed kind of lifestyle. And it's not so many demarcations between this is our house, here's our wall. It's not like that. It's a bit more casual. But do you know what? Every single house up in the hills was doing one thing, growing their own food. Grapes, olives, lettuce, tomatoes, you name it. They were all growing their own food. So even if it's only 1% of what we would buy in the shops, that's 1% that they're self-reliant in olives or self-reliant in grapes or whatever it is. So there's so many ways that we can decentralize. That's a word I use a lot. Decentralize, centralized systems, centralized power, and consolidating centralized power. That's the enemy of humanity, in my view. Where we thrive and prosper going forward is decentralized systems. Everybody having their own sovereign autonomy with a heartfelt wish for everybody else to do well. And that goes from independent livelihood to growing our own food to community events. Decentralization, I think, is the salvation for us, and it's where we should be anyway, where we provide for ourselves, just like a classic American Indian tribe did, and everybody there within the tribe is working for the betterment of all. Nobody's isolated. Nobody can go off and live by themselves. It doesn't work. The fishermen do their work. The food growers do their work. The buffalo guys do their work, finding the buffaloes. The warriors do this. The people who are creating the teepees do this. The educators, the medicine men and women, all this stuff. And everybody pulls together for the betterment of all. And we can learn a heck of a lot from that. And I think there is a move to go back to that way of being, because enough people are seeing the sort of centralization of power. They're seeing how there's one narrative and the only one you can accept is that narrative, and people recognizing, well, that doesn't add up to me. What's the solution? The solution is decentralization. The solution is giving power back to people individually and in their communities. And I think crypto and blockchain is a brilliant example of how that works from a technology point of view that's able to be implemented and utilized by everybody who's looking to do things differently.
Oh, thank you, Pete. So can I just run through these questions that Bob sent for me, because he understands a bit about Bitcoin. Are you happy? There's quite a few, so it's a real short answer, but can I just read through them for you? All
right. I'll reiterate again. There are guys who know way more about blockchain and crypto than me. I can't build a blockchain, so I'll do my best. And if I can't answer it, I will be honest and I'll say I don't know. All right, fantastic. But let's go for it.
Does he trust in Bitcoin? It's never, and then in brackets he's put, it's never been hacked.
the Bitcoin blockchain is decentralized, created by Satoshi Nakamoto. That could be one person, it could be a nom de plume, it is nom de plume, it could be a group of people. Has it been hacked? No, in my opinion, it hasn't. In my memory, it hasn't. And like I said, go back to Canada last year, if you were ever going to destabilize Bitcoin, because the majority of funds they received were in Bitcoin, it was then. That didn't happen. So I'm saying it's unhackable at the moment. In the future, it may be hackable if they get quantum computing out there, but by then I would suggest that blockchain technology would have improved as well. So I'm going to say, yeah, I trust it completely.
And that's what Bob sort of thought as well. He's just put in brackets that he doesn't think it's ever been hacked.
No.
Our fiat currencies, you might have already answered some of these, but anyway, are fiat currencies with all the money printing on their way out? And if so, is Bitcoin, which has a limited supply of no more than 21 million tokens, be the answer?
Fiat currencies inherently have no intrinsic value apart from that ascribed to people's confidence in the economy from where they're going. You look at the Weimar Republic, you look at what happened in Germany then, and then you look at Zimbabwe, where one loaf of bread was 50 trillion Zimbabwe dollars. Are we heading the same way? It won't. God willing, it doesn't get as bad as that, but we're certainly not stopping, are we? You know, the quantitative easing, QE, this new phrase of basically creating money out of thin air. By the way, look at your loans as well, or supposed loans. Listen to Richard Werner. He's excellent. He explains that every time you take a loan or a credit card, there's no loan. It's the creation of credit. That money is magicked out of thin air. That currency is magicked out of thin air. And that's every time you take a loan or every time you pay on a credit card. It's just magic. It's not stored in a vault. It just numbers on the screen. So inherently, all fiat currencies go to zero eventually. And I think that is highly likely to happen, where it's not impossible. You could see a run on a Western currency that, you know, whether it's the dollar, the euro, the pound, it's entirely possible. The debt ratio that these countries are in now. So Bitcoin is the antidote. You've got a maximum supply of the asset. And in fact, what's interesting in some cryptos, by the way, Jackie, is that some of them are decreasing in supply, because when you send them on the blockchain, there's a little thing called a gas fee, which pushes the transaction through. And that bit of crypto is burnt forever. It's burnt out of existence. It goes into the burning wallet. It's gone. So some of the crypto assets are decreasing in supply at a time when fiat is increasing ad infinitum. So yes, I think it's possible that fiat systems will go to zero and that Bitcoin and related crypto assets will be the antidote.
As I was just thinking then, there's 7 billion or 8 billion people in the world and they're only doing 21 million tokens.
That's right. Imagine if everybody bought a bit of it. And because it's decentralized, we would then be in charge of the price of our own asset. Think about that. Think of it, it's no different to gold. There's a limited amount of Bitcoin, there's a limited amount of gold, there's a limited amount of diamonds. Increased demand generally increases price. So, you know, I would want, if people got the chance to get some crypto now before a bull run, even if they just wanted to get it and then just play around with it, don't dive in too much, get $50 of XRP or $50 of Bitcoin or Monero and just play around with it, and then just send it to a friend and they send it back to you. You'll probably pay a little bit of gas fee, but it's worth doing that in my view.
Do you consider Bitcoin to be a digital gold, meaning it's transferable, divisible, and scarce, and has scarcity? So you've basically said that, really.
Yeah, so that would make it money, and it's fungible as well. So yeah, one Bitcoin is one Bitcoin. So if I send a Bitcoin to a friend, another different friend sends me one Bitcoin. That one Bitcoin that you've received is the same as the other Bitcoin you've sent. The only difference I would say in terms of gold, and this is important, is the fluctuation in price. It's more volatile, Bitcoin, than gold. Gold can sometimes, you can see in a month, maybe a 10% drop, 5 to 10%. You know, gold doesn't have a fixed price at the moment. I think gold's about 1950 US, 2000 US, whatever it is, but it's not going to go to 5,000 or drop to 300 or 700. Bitcoin sometimes does that. It pumped 12% yesterday or the day before. It pumped 12%. Gold's highly unlikely to do that unless there's a major problem in the fiat system. So interestingly enough, when you had the banking problems in America earlier this year, all right, Bitcoin pumped hugely because people saw that it was a store of value. And then you had people in a certain country in Eastern Europe, the largest country in the world, when they had their bank accounts closed, they started buying Bitcoin, and I believe that helped up the price of it. So digital gold, in some ways there is similarity because it's a fixed amount. It's just that gold's a more stable asset, whereas Bitcoin's more volatile but offers more opportunity. Let's call it that.
Do you think that the demise of the US dollar, due to the money printing and the government military overreach, that Bitcoin could form part of a new trusted BRICS, BRIC, supported currency or basket of currencies?
I think it could be a basket of currencies. The BRICS initiative is very interesting. And from what I can see, they're trying to remove reliance on the dollar as the world's reserve currency. They're transacting in their own currency, and they want it to be asset backed. So certainly Bitcoin will feature on their radar. Will they create their own digital asset? They may have done that. They'll look at it. And there's something called a stable coin, by the way. I should let you know that a stable coin is at the moment, the majority of stable coins are tied to the price of the US dollar. The leading one is called Tether, and it's tied to the price of the US dollar. The difference is it's not in a bank account. It's on the blockchain. So I think the BRICS nations will probably try and introduce their own stable coin, so then they can transact with each other on blockchain for minimum fees, instantaneous transaction settlement, and then they can, oil or whatever food, whatever they're sending to each other, and they'll have control of their own currency. So I think that is entirely possible. I don't think Bitcoin will be the only one, but it will be part of it. And I think, what's his name? Is it Rob? Is it? Bob mentioned that as a portfolio of blockchain-based currencies. Yes, I think that it is entirely possible that will happen.
Brilliant. Has Bitcoin been hijacked by the deep state, do you think?
Can't rule it out. You can't rule it out. I know that there are a lot of people. One asset that everyone should look at is BSV. So Bitcoin is BTC. BSV is Bitcoin Satoshi Vision. And there is a school of thought to suggest that BSV is in fact the original Bitcoin asset. So there's a gentleman I'm in touch with who's the UK's leading expert on BSV, and it's quite compelling, that evidence. One thing, without being confused by it, have a foot in both camps, I think is a good option. BTC is still recognized as the primary crypto asset in the world. And sometimes it will increase by maybe 10% over the course of a day. The altcoins, and BSV would be an altcoin, an alternative coin. Well, I put it on my own Blockchain Freedom Builders group on Telegram. I said, number one coin to look at is the 31st of July. Number one coin to look at is BSV. And I think the price then was $30 or $31. Well, 3 days ago, it got to $56. So you're talking 85, 90% increase. Now, sometimes it can go down. It doesn't always go up. But generally, Bitcoin, if Bitcoin goes up in price, if there looks like there's strength and confidence in the market in Bitcoin, it drives all the other coins, all of them. So that would include XRP, Monero, Solana, any of the other digital assets, and of course those that have the name of Bitcoin, like Bitcoin Satoshi Vision and also Bitcoin Cash. They will piggyback off the confidence of Bitcoin, and because they have a smaller market cap is it's the basically price per coin by the number of coins circulating. So the market cap of Bitcoin is hundreds of billions of dollars. But the market cap of Bitcoin Satoshi Vision is much, much smaller. So you will often see if money comes into the altcoins, they will pump much quicker. They will also dump a little bit quicker, so you have to be wary of that. But if you're looking to get gains in crypto, yes, you'd want to have some stable in your stable coins and maybe some Bitcoin. But if you are looking to enter and then exit making a profit, the altcoins are probably going to be your best option for generating a bit of wealth, let's say.
I'm going to leave it there because we've been on for an hour now, Pete, and I honestly think that's enough time for people to watch. I've still got loads of questions there, so am I all right to send them to you? And if you can answer just briefly, and I can put that out at some time, or we can do another talk if that's...
Well, I've loved this, and I'm happy to do another one, Jackie. And like I said to you at the start, I really appreciate the fact that you kept asking and you wanted to pin me down on this, because there is a I'm not going to say a weakness, there is a lack of understanding, and there's more knowledge needed within conscious communities about how important blockchain and crypto is. And it's a really paradoxical, ironic situation, because if you get 100 people in crypto and blockchain, the proportion of them that are of our way of thinking is much higher. And yet, if you go to a group like OMC or your group down south, any of the groups, you will find a hesitancy and a suspicion about crypto and blockchain, thinking that it's railroading us down into some herded mentality. It's a trap. I don't see it as a trap at all. The vast majority of people in crypto and blockchain recognize the banking system for what it is. And I include in that people who build blockchains. There are hundreds, thousands of blockchains, and the people building them recognize that centralized banking power is not beneficial to humanity, and they build their blockchains accordingly. So everybody approach it with an open mind and test the water. Small, but test the water. See if it works. Set up your own wallet and then just go and speak to somebody. It's not that difficult. Happily, I will take those questions, and I'll be happy to come back on again, Jackie.
That'd be amazing. Thank you, Pete. Really grateful for this. It's been so interesting.
Yes, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, honestly, thank you. And yeah, we'll speak again soon then. That will be great.
Brilliant. God bless. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thanks a lot.